everybody. Time to rise and shine. I'm Shelby Barrett, the STONED for the STONED Roadie Show, and it's time to wake and bake with Craig Reed and Griff Martin.
The STONED Roadie Show. Wake and bake, the morning buzz action. Alrighty then, looky here, fellow Earthlings. It's Monday. It's what is that? March 18th, 2024, and this is podcast 144 and episode number 27 of the Wake and Bake Morning Buzz. And my name's Craig Reed, the STONED Roadie, and this is my co-host, the rocket scientist, Griff Martin.
Greg, how's your weather up there? It's already summer here, man. It's burning hot.
It's summer one day and winter the next. It was a little chilly yesterday. I don't know. We'll see what it ends up this morning. Yeah. Yesterday was St. Patty's Day. Yeah, I was gonna wear my St. Patty's outfit I had on yesterday, but it had so much green in it, it was making my
your green screen
not working real good. Yeah,
it's a lot of pollen floating around down here. I had like an allergy attack, and then last night I got off the phone with Gene Odom, and he's got a head cold, and I asked him, I said, because he said this to me last time I had a cold. I said, Gene, is it running out of your nose any faster than you can eat it? Because that's what he said to me. You know, when we were little kids, we used to eat our snot like that, you know.
Speak for yourself.
I guess that's what he's talking about. You know, all little kids did that when they were like 2 years old. But so I had a cool conversation with Gene, and he was telling me a little bit about the monument, how they're fixing that stone, and they're going to redo it. More information coming up about that in the future, and then the Mike O'Hara tapes. You know, that last one with Moat, and that was a pretty good interview.
Yeah, I never knew about Dean being impaled. That was kind of gruesome.
Yeah. That's why.
And Leon hanging upside down from the wires.
Yeah, and Johnny
got a hold of him. Yeah, that was pretty gross.
And Johnny was kind of casual about it. You know, oh yeah, that boy was hanging in the wires there, and he was just screaming. I was like, dang, man, that's some pretty good, you know, but thank God that as many people made it as he did. And they were saying that, you know, usually an airplane crash, there's, you know, you've got fire, which that, thank God. But I mean, then again, if it would have had fuel, you'd have never crashed. So we got, I'm going to put Dwayne Easley up next. And, Dwayne, he's kind of a little bit more reserved, I think. I haven't heard it yet, but I'm sure Dwayne's he's probably a little bit more reserved about things, but he always does a great interview, my buddy Dwayne Easley. So you guys stick around at the end of the podcast here, because we're going to have the Mike O'Hara tape interview with Dwayne Easley. That'll be the next one that we put on. And then I was watching a documentary, Craig, on John Lennon's Lost Weekend, and I come to the realization that's when you met John Lennon, was during his Lost Weekend. Of course, you said May Pang was there, and anybody who doesn't know about John Lennon's Lost Weekend, some people say it was from 73 to 74. Other people say it was from 74 to 75. Definitely, he went back to Yoko Ono in 75. And he showed up down there at that record plant there in 74. What month was it, Craig?
It was in January. Yeah, it was. You know, it was the first month I'd worked with Lynyrd Skynyrd. I went back to Jacksonville with them January 1st. And then we were down there a couple, 2-3 weeks. And then me and Joe Barnes drove the equipment truck out to Los Angeles to the record plant. And it was the very first day that we got there. And we got all the equipment into the studio and just got everything all set up, and they had just got in there and started recording and getting everything tweaked out with Al Cooper and stuff, and I'm walking out the door, and in comes John Lennon with some woman and a couple guys, and I just looked up at John Lennon and said, "Do you know who you are?" And he just laughed, and he went into the studio and stuck his head in there, and the band seen him and kind of freaked out and stopped what they were doing, and then they came out to see where John Lennon was, and they said, "Where'd John Lennon go?" And they said, "He just walked across the street with one of your roadies." Yeah, when he was walking out, he said, "Hey, you want to go with us?" I said, "Yeah, man." Went across the street. It was right across the street. There was a little diner over there, and we went over there. And God, about the only thing you said, Paul, who'd you say might have been with them?
Harry Nilsson was,
yeah.
He was hanging around with a lot of people. I'm sure, that you'd have probably seen Harry Nilsson and recognized him if he'd have been there. But
I don't think I'd have recognized him. All I did was I recognized John Lennon, and that was all. That's all I kind of, I didn't really pay attention to who the other people were, and I was just sitting there, and I was kind of amused because I'm sitting there with John Lennon, and this little cafe, it's kind of full of people, they're in Hollywood, and everybody's looking at John Lennon, and they're looking at me like, who in the hell's that guy,
Well, that's during the time, and they had the Hollywood Vampires, and he was part of the Hollywood Vampires.
Yeah,
they had Mickey Dolan and Alice Cooper and Keith Moon, and they said Keith Moon was like always wearing different costumes and things, and he was just drunk as hell, and then the Phil Spector, they were in some recording studio there. Can't remember what that recording studio was, but his pistol went off and just missed John Lennon's head, went right by his ear. There's some crazy stuff in that interview that I'd heard. So, yeah, Craig, you were officially part of John Lennon's lost weekend. Kind of like Forrest Gump, you're everywhere,
Yeah, it seems that way sometimes. I have been like Forrest Gump in certain instances.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
At the right place at the right time. Yeah.
All right. Yeah. Sometimes at the wrong time. So, but you're still with us. So that's cool. And then, you put up, somebody had a bunch of questions for that post you put up. Anybody wanted to ask you any questions. So I wrote a bunch of questions down here, and we can go over those. But do you want to go over that? You said you wanted to straighten something out with a donation.
Oh yeah. Let me see here. Well, I'll just what the heck did I do? Oh, that's right. Yeah. Okay. Here we go. Well, first one. Chris Eldridge. Since I got the paper here, we'll just show Chris. He's a real good guitar player. Used to be a professional, and now he's just sending in $50. Been sending in $50 a week here for the last month or so. So. Started out just wanted a couple of stickers, and he just started sending in a bunch of money. So we'll take it. Thanks, Chris. So we just showed your name again on there, just for the heck of it. Because you're here, it's sometimes. And James King. Yeah, this is where we had I had a misconglomeration last week with my brains, you know. Yeah, we said James King. I said he sent in $50 for a sticker, but you know the stickers are only $25, you know, and I'm look, and I knew that I had a $25 donation, but it was that was James King. Instead of sending in $50, he sent in $25. But I had to clarify that. I can't say, well, what did I do with that $25? Somebody else say, he just stuck that $25 in his pocket. We know what that son of a bitch is doing. He's a crook, you know. I'm still getting that, God. People still saying that we're doing this for our own bank accounts. My God, we gave the forgotten survivors $25,000 last year. My God, how much money do you think we gave him? Matter of fact, I spend my own money on this, and Griff spends a lot more than I do on those On the Road with Griff Martin. If you don't believe it, you know, drive from Florida up to North Carolina back and forth a couple of times and spend a couple of days in a hotel and food and gas and lodging and stuff, and it adds up, you know. So yeah, we're not making any money doing this for sure.
Yeah, speaking of that, you know, when I went up to Virginia to see Joey Davis and I did that interview, and that's Oliver Anthony's guitar player, and I just talked to him last night on the phone, and Joey Davis, man, he's such a cool guy. I said, hey, how did you like Australia? That's where they were, in Australia. And he said, oh, we had the kangaroos jumping. I said, did you get to go do any sightseeing? He said, I didn't see a single thing. That all we did was just play music and come back. So I think they're back now. But a little shout out there to Oliver Anthony and Joey Davis's guitar player, and they're doing a great job out there in Australia. But good to hear from him.
Yeah, I got a question I want to get to, but I kind of forgot about last week, and I want to get to this. It's from the son of Jesus for Survivors.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Yeah, and y'all don't know who Jesus for Survivors is. He's a really cool guy. We became acquainted here in the last month or two, you know, better acquainted, and his son, he's got a question. He just started watching the Stone Roadie show, and matter of fact, I just did his friend request just the other day. Jesus for Survivor said he's been watching the show. He's 34 years old, but anyways, he since he hasn't watched the show, he never heard me talk about the Hell House. He had heard that the band had gotten equipment ripped off out there at the Hell House. People came up by way of the creek or whatever you call that, behind there.
Peters Creek.
Creek, yeah. They come up the creek there, and they robbed some equipment from the band, so they had to start staying out there. And he had heard that they were taking turns staying out there, and he wanted to know if I'd ever stayed out there, you know. And well, we've covered this a couple times, you know, because I talked about, first time I stayed out there, I ate a mushroom, and Gary gave me a mushroom, and Ronnie gave me a .22 rifle. Said, here you go, guard the place. Yeah, but yeah, when I went down there, I had a choice either to stay in the 8 Days Inn or stay out there at the Hell House. And hell, I didn't mind staying out at the Hell House because they weren't paying me much, you know.
Yeah,
I didn't make any money with them until we went out on the road, and then we all got $5 a day per diem, and that was it.
But who paid for your hotel room?
Oh,
when you?
they paid for the no. When I first got down there, 8 days in was $8 a day. Yeah,
Oh,
I stayed there for a couple days. Well, I had my own money when I first started with them. Like I said before, I'm the only one that had a credit card and stuff. So I had a little bit of cash, so spendable cash. But anyways, so yeah, that's the story about that. Yeah, there's quite a few nights I stayed out at the Hal House. Me and my first wife and my son Chad, we spent a lot of time out there. We just yeah, even when they moved down there, we would go out there and spend the night out at the Hal House just for the heck of it. Me and Chad go out there and shoot bow and arrows and just fish and piddle around out there. But yeah, it was pretty cool out there.
that's what I want to do on one of these podcasts. Is I want to go over the whole birth of Chad Reed. I want to I want to see. I want to find out from when he was born until now the story of Chad Reed, because I mean, that's almost like the son Ronnie Van Zant never had, and he used to spend a lot of time over there with Lacey and sister, Ronnie's parents over there on the west side. And just to do a little quick recap, because you'd have to go back and binge watch, and there's several podcasts with Chad Reed on there, and he was talking about being in Lacey's house. You had to act a certain way. You weren't allowed to walk around with your shirt off, and you couldn't wash your hands in the kitchen sink, or Lacey would box your ears. He wasn't playing around. So he ran a tight ship, and that's why I guess Ronnie Van Zant was quite the gentleman with the ladies. That's anybody. Even Leslie Hawkins told me that Ronnie was always a gentleman. And that he had great manners. But I guess when he was drinking and around you guys, that's when it flipped.
Yeah, Chad, well, those of you who know that those films you see, my films were Ronnie and the little blonde head kid that's wrestling and fighting with Ronnie, and every time you see them together, they're always fighting. Yeah, and Ronnie,
Yeah.
they were always wrestling and fighting. Yeah, Chad's nickname for a long time was Bad Chad Reed. Yeah.
Oh, he had quite the
Everybody was
mentor,
always fighting with him, yeah.
I mean, how many people can say that they wrestled Ronnie Van Zant? That's and when Ronnie died, how old was Chad, Craig?
Well, Chad was born in 71, so it was
About
so
six.
6, yeah, 5, 6.
Yeah. So
Wow.
we're gonna maybe that'll happen on the next podcast. But yeah, I wanna do a little story about Chad growing up with the Stone Roadie from the Stone Roadie's perspective. We've heard Chad's side. There's a lot of cool stories that he's got. But yeah, so now let's get to these questions here, Craig, and then we'll do a little wrap up, and then you guys can watch Dwayne Easley or listen to Dwayne Easley's interview with Mike O'Hara, which is, I'm sure, going to be a good one. So your questions here, Craig. Somebody asks, did you attend any of the funerals of the band members? I know the
Just
answer to
Gary.
that. Yeah.
Just Gary, that's the only one. Yeah, Ronnie was buried before I was even I was still in the hospital unconscious by the time Ronnie's funeral was. And yeah, I didn't go to Leon's. That's one I just just didn't want to go to. I just wanted to remember Leon the way I remembered it, and I didn't want to see him laying there. And I'm glad I didn't go because I heard Gary walked up to the casket and said, "Who the hell's that?"
Yeah, because he'd shaved his beard off or
Yeah,
something.
he shaved his beard and cut his hair all off, and Gary went up and said, "Who the hell is that?" It's kind of like when Artimus showed up at the Hell House for the Ross and Collins band when he first showed up out there to play drums, and he came out there and he had cut his hair all off and shaved his beard and stuff, and I'm the first one that saw him, and I had no idea who he was.
Yeah, did you hear in that Johnny Mote interview where Johnny Mote said that Artemis drummer guy, his beard was down below his waist?
Yeah, yeah. None of us knew. I was laughing because I said, "Who in the hell?" I said, "Who are you?" And he goes, he was laughing. I went, "No way!" And I walked him up to the door when all the rest of the band were in there, and they were coming out like, "Who in the hell's this guy?" It's Artemis. They're going, "No way!"
That's kind of
was
like
funny.
that.
Nobody knew who he was.
It's
It was
kind of like that Pink Floyd Sid Barrett. You know, they said he came to the studio and they go, "Who's that big fat bald guy in there?" And it's, that's Sid Barrett. What? And he was kind of off his rocker. They said that guy, he went and did an acid trip and then he wasn't ever the same after that. Okay, so you only went to Gary's, and of course we know.
Yeah, Alan's. I didn't go. I was out on the road with Marshall Tucker when Alan died, and I saw him right before. I mean, he was in the hospital, and me and one of the other guys, Roadies from John Coulter, me went to the hospital and seen him, and Larkin, let us in, and I said, "God, Alan, what the hell did you do to yourself this time?" And he just, he had a tube in his, throat, and he was just like, just laying there. He couldn't, it was bad.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, and yeah, I didn't go to.
And then Billy Powell, what about him?
No, I didn't go to Billy's. No.
Okay, well, moving along. Let me see. This guy says that you had mentioned something about doing a podcast during the Ohio Cannabis Fest.
Oh yeah. I'm gonna go down there. Yeah, I'm gonna. I called down. I looked it up, and I was go down there. I was gonna go down there, and I there's a thing that says sponsor, so I looked it up. They want $3,000 to be a sponsor. I'm not gonna be no sponsor, so I'm just gonna. Me and my buddy Sammy will go down there and just walk around the place and do an interview. That's all I need to do. I was thinking about setting up a table, the Stone Roadie table, but I ain't gonna get on there. And,
What month is that, Craig?
Huh?
What month is it?
It's August.
August?
Yeah, Summit County Fair.
Is that when the weed is budding?
August? Yeah. No. August, September, October. Yeah, usually.
You'd think they would have it when the weed's budding.
Usually around October. Yeah, is when the.
Well, now that it's legalized in Ohio, and it should be a big fest. Should be a big to-do, huh?
Yeah, I guess. Yeah.
They probably have plants for sale and everything.
I read in the Green local paper that the mayor turned down that somebody requested to put a marijuana store out here in Green, and the mayor turned it down. He said not yet, But these are all Democrats out here, man. It's
Yeah, I remember running into that guy there at Portage Lake when your reunion, and me and John Neal. John Neal, he's a character, that guy. I never had such a good time around John Neal. And so you were up there in your reunion, and the waiter came up and I asked him, I said, "Hey, do you know Craig Reed?" And he goes, "Who doesn't know Craig Reed? He walks up and down his property with a Trump flag trying to piss people off." and he's got Trump signs, and that kind of explained when I came to your house, you had all these Trump signs that somebody defiled. They did something to them, and you had to pull them up. Yeah, so I didn't know about that little war you had going on there with the Democrats, Greg.
Oh yeah, I got a couple of flagpoles. I got 3 flagpoles. Actually, I have 4, but I only have flags flying on 3 of them.
Well, if it's, I mean, all this stuff that, I mean, it should be the way it should be is you should be able to talk about it, but these people are so freaking crazy, man. It's turned into something I don't even recognize. But
Oh, I get letters. I get letters in the mail.
telling you to take the stuff down.
Oh yeah, it's telling me. Oh, it's funny. I just
Well, you know the
laugh.
sheriff. I remember I met the
Oh yeah.
sheriff
Oh yeah.
at your reunion, and she said something about
I went to high
she
school
was
with her husband. Yeah.
she was running for the sheriff then, and then her
Yeah, she
husband
won.
when she
Yeah.
was there, and she said, "Hey, Craig, how are you doing?" And you went, "I ought to be doing pretty good. I just burned one." Telling that to the sheriff. Oh God. And she was a nice lady though. She just kind of looked at you like, yeah, you hadn't changed a bit, Craig. Okay, well, another question here. How would you rank guitarists you have worked with by their talent?
God, I'd have to put Alan on the top of all of them, you know. I mean,
Yeah.
I really would, you know. I mean, no disrespect to Neil Sean or Mick Jones or Steve or Gary or, you know, I don't know. I just really respect Alan's attitude, the way he,
Yeah.
yeah, the way opening or headlining bands, we'd be opening up for somebody, and the headliner, the guitar players would come out to see him, and Alan would turn around and machine gun him, or give him the Tarzan yell, like I'm king of the jungle.
Yeah, and he always, would kind of like challenge them,
Oh, he'd give him the Tarzan yell.
One of the funniest things I think I ever heard was, and Brandon Campbell proved the point, because I remember saying, I heard an interview where Alan Collins, he got like in a big pissing match with John Cougar Mellencamp. And I remember I asked you about it, and you said, I never
I don't
heard that.
remember that. No, you know what? I think that was John Cougar embellished that, because I drove Alan down there. I mean, every time we'd go, Alan went down there to Criteria. I drove him, and we drove a different car every time.
Well, he said Alan wanted to fight him, and he couldn't
No,
even go.
I don't remember. Of course, we were doing some heavy drugs back then. You know, so I was only thinking about hitting that glass pipe, probably.
Yeah, you might have missed it,
I
because
might have missed it. Yeah,
Alan, he
were
was.
pretty crazy.
You got to
back
listen to
then.
that interview, because it's gold. I mean, John Cougar Mellencamp, the way he's talking about Alan, because he was a big brawler too, and I remember hearing interviews about him and his sons used to get in fist fights and things. So I don't know what it is with Mellencamp, but he's a big brawler too. Okay, so yeah, and here's another, speaking of Alan, another question. Which of Alan's guitars, in your opinion, did you think sounded best?
Oh God, it'd have to be the Explorer, just because it's an Explorer.
Yeah.
It's got the patent applied for it on it, and it's just the
And
stigma of that guitar.
and he had it set up his own way. I wonder where
Yeah.
he got the idea to put, that certain tremolo that didn't come with it. That was a
Well, that wasn't the first one he had that tremolo on. That came from Germany. I don't remember what the brand name of those are, but
And
yeah.
then those weren't the original pickups either, right? Those were some crazy
No, I think
wired.
that's from what I remember. Those are the patent applied for. He didn't use those.
But
Yeah,
Steve Reynolds, said that
the
he pulled them out,
Thunderbirds. The
tweaked them.
Thunderbirds are the Firebirds. He used those, single coil
Yeah,
P90s or whatever they were. I forget right now.
yeah, but yeah, I agree with you on that. So there's your answer for that. And then a guy asks, "Is Bernice still at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame?" Now, last
Yeah,
time, yeah, you and I saw that there.
yeah,
You
yeah.
went.
It's really faded out, though. My God, there's no
Oh yeah.
sunburst to it at all now.
No, I know.
There's no sunburst to it at all.
Yeah, it's definitely, you can tell by looking at it. It's just, I didn't even recognize it,
Yeah, yeah.
but
It's the only thing
crazy
they
thing.
got that's the only thing of Skinner's that they've got there. And yeah. They
And
used
what
to
was,
have they used to have about four guitars up there from Skinner. They had one rack before you even got into the Hall of Fame, the entrance thing. They had a little rack and they had like 5 guitars in there. They had Steve's and Ed's and Leon's and Alan. And
what was cool was, you and I standing there looking at it, and then all these people walking around us, and little did they know that you were the guy that tuned that guitar, and set it up and everything, and you're standing right there, and they don't even know who you were. I imagine
I'm the guy that left it on the guitar stand in the studio so somebody could knock it over and bust the headstock on it too. That was all my fault.
yeah, and some carpenter put it back, glued it with some Elmer's glue or something, and he thought he was going to throw it in the trash.
That's at that time I had just become the guitar roadie, and I didn't know any better, I wasn't thinking that, when you can't leave guitars plugged in and sitting on the stand. There's nobody supposed to be walking around back there in that studio. I guess somebody was back there walking around and caught their foot on that cord and pulled it right off the stand and busted the neck on it. But I accept responsibility. I'm the one.
That's like I was over, and I know a lot of you guitar players have probably done this. A ceiling fan is the guitar player's worst enemy. I was over at my buddy's house, Jay, and we were playing, and I was trying. The damn pick keeps flying in the sound hole, and I was trying to get it out of there, and then I hit the guitar on the ceiling fan. And luckily, I had my capo, and that's what it hit. But yeah, that'll destroy a guitar real easy. You'd think those things would be tougher than they are, but if you hit them just right, they'll crack. Okay, here's another question, Craig. In the tribute band, who took Ronnie's lead after the crash? In other words, wouldn't you say Gary? I mean, kind of took over Ronnie's lead.
Oh yeah, yeah. In the tribute band, oh yeah, because Alan was hurt. He was the only one left. It was just Gary left.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was Gary. Gary was always the prez. Yeah, Gary was always in charge. We called him the prez. He was the president of the.
How did him and Ronnie act? Like, did they ever get locked horns over anything as far as, decisions?
I don't know about decisions. Musically, Ronnie beat the shit out of Gary a few times. Like I said before, Ronnie never messed with Alan. I never saw Ronnie mess with Alan, but he popped Gary a few times.
Why do you think it was he never messed with Alan?
I think he's just afraid that Alan would leave. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know why, but he never messed with Alan. But he
used to pick
on a few times.
He used to pick on Bob.
Now he'd bite Alan. He'd go, but Gary and Alan, he'd go up right in the middle of a solo, right in the middle of a show. He'd go up and bite him right here on the shoulder. Leave marks on him, man.
Yeah, somebody told me that he got that biting thing because somebody was kicking his ass, and the only thing he could do was bite him, and it got him off the ground, and he could beat the guy up after he bit him. So that was his Hail Mary, his whole ace in the hole was that bite. And that's
yeah. Yeah, he taught Chad how to bite. Me and Chad used to wrestle, and I had him down pinned, and he bit me. And I said, "What the hell?" He said, "Ronnie told me if I couldn't do anything else, bite him."
Yeah, I think he actually bit somebody's ear, a hunk of their ear off.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and he took a nice divot out of Joe Barnes' belly.
A lot of people he took divots out.
I got to see.
He never bit me. He never did bite me either, but
I got to
he
see
bit everybody else.
A scarf on somebody that Ronnie made, so that was cool for me. I got to see a scar on somebody that Ronnie made. So, okay, another question here, Craig. Did Steve Gaines sing all the vocals on One in the Sun?
Yeah, yeah. As far as I know,
yeah, that's what I mean. I'm sure that there's some studio stuff in there, but I don't remember like backup vocals or anything on that. I have to go back and listen to that, though. That's a good question. Okay, here we go, Craig. We've been talking about so many things on the podcast. I mean, why not even talk about this now? It's like, nothing. What happened to the papers in the briefcase on the plane?
I don't know. Like I said before, I just woke up in the hospital, and Peter Rudge come to my room. Him and some other guy come to my room and wanted to know how to get into my briefcase, my Hartman leather briefcase. They wanted to know how to get into that. And I told them the combination.
And what was in there?
Oh, I remember. I didn't know why they wanted to get into my briefcase, but they said they had to get into my briefcase.
Well, the $6 million question is what was in there?
I don't remember. I don't remember. I'm not. I don't. All I remember was I was still in the hospital, and they wanted to know how to get into my briefcase.
Yeah,
that's all I remember.
Kind of like that Carly Simon song. You're never going to get the truth out of him for that. I think he knows. I think he knows, but he's holding out on us.
No, I don't. I don't remember remember having any kind of papers from Ronnie. I don't remember.
Okay, there you have it.
I've somebody told me I did, and I can't imagine why I would and Ron Eckerman wouldn't. I don't know. That was a rumor I heard. I don't know. The only thing I know is Peter Rudge come to my room with some other guy and wanted to know how to get into my briefcase.
All righty, and now you know the rest of the story.
That's all I remember. I'd like to embellish, but I can't.
This is the last question here, Craig. And this is kind of funny. I forget who this guy was that asked this. Did May Pang sing better than Yoko Ono?
I don't even know who May Pang is, man. I didn't know who she was when she was there.
She was only like 15 or something. I don't know. She was young, 17 or something. But yeah, and Yoko said, here, John, just go take this girl and go have a good time. So, Yoko, she might have been like broke up the Beatles, but she was a cool wife. So those are the questions. And Craig, did you want to talk about Pepper any new news on Pepper?
I had contact with Pepper. This kind of come on to us both off all of a sudden. People have been wanting me to have Artimus on the podcast, and I saw this one podcast he did, and it was called Conspiracies. And it was about, some stuff that he'd gone throughout, his, just throughout his career, or whatever. So, I posted it up on FakeBook, and lo and behold, Pepper chimed in on it and said who she was and God, I got into the conversation with that about it'd been up for hours, and people were really got heated, and I was going,
Yeah.
whoa, man,
That's
and I didn't.
Artemis' daughter. In case you don't know who that's, Pepper's Artemis Pyle's daughter, and they were like jumping her shit, man. Some people were really slamming her, over Artemis's charges, and she was saying it did not happen. And if anybody would know, she would, because that's who supposedly it happened to. So we're trying to get her on here, and so there's been a little, I guess there was a bit of a, she was going to ask Artemis, and so we didn't know what's going to happen. So we still don't know, do we, Craig?
No, let me see here. So yeah, so I didn't know what was going on. So then I guess I kind of chimed in, and then people kind of were talking to me, and then she messaged me and said, "Hey, I guess you were kind of involved with all that stuff. I guess we should talk. So we did, and I told her, I said, "Yeah, I was your." She said, how are you involved with this Lynyrd Skynyrd stuff? Because she's kind of doesn't know, And I said, "Well, I was your dad's. I was with the band like a year before your dad was. I was the original drum roadie, and then when he left, I became your dad's drum roadie. I was your dad's first drum roadie. I was Bob Burns' first drum roadie. I was the first drum roadie Lynyrd Skynyrd ever official had, So I said, and we just, and I said, well, I saw that people wanted you to, thought it'd be a good idea to be on the podcast. What do you think about that? And she said, I think I'd like to do that and clear things up. And then that's all I knew about it. And then here recently, she said, I got something I got to do. I got a event here I got to do here in the next 2 weeks or something that I got to spend my time, dedicate my thoughts and time to that. And she said, I'm really kind of new at the Skinner thing, and I kind of want to do a little homework about the history and stuff, but before I get involved, I've never done a podcast, it is a little intimidating. So she's a little intimidated about it, and she doesn't want to sound, like she doesn't want to, she's talking about it. She just wants to do a little homework, and she's got some stuff going on. So she said, she'd let me know, and about the first, this is March, April, about the 1st of April, she'd let me know what she wanted to do.
And there's some talk about Chris Pyle and her both coming on. That would be great.
Yeah, I don't think at the same time. Chris has got a little project going on that I don't want to talk about right now. I sometimes I talk about things before, I hear things and then I talk about them, and I'm not supposed to talk about.
Yeah, like remember the free bird that Dolly Parton did, and we cut that loose.
Yeah, they had to. Yeah, I hear things, and then I kind of, hey, look what I heard, and then people go, oh, you weren't supposed to say nothing about that, and it's just. Here's Craig with the breaking news, but
yeah, but in Craig's defense.
So I'm gonna quit doing that. I shouldn't have said anything about having Pepper on like I did, but God, that got to be, it was so heated on Facebook. I was going, boy, this is something else. And I'd like to see Artimus exonerated from all that. I mean, I know he didn't do any of that, and it kind of pissed me off. Some of the people were, he's guilty. They don't know. They just heard. People hear something and they just want to believe the worst. People just want to believe the worst of anything they hear.
Yeah, and if they can, they'll just make something up.
Yeah, I don't know. People just want seems like people just want people to fail because they're unhappy themselves. I don't know what the deal is, but
Well, there's already
this
people
country
that,
sure is messed up, man. I mean, you know, half of you people out there are nuts. At least half of you. So.
Well, there's already some people that, you know, I remember.
You can't handle it. Go somewhere else. I ain't gonna coddle you on this here.
I remember people saying, you know, about, you know, yeah, Artimus, yeah, he did that, and now I've talked to a couple, and they're like, you know, I always liked Artemis, you know, and now they're already changing their tune, you know. It's
Yeah, they don't want to
amazing
get caught with their pants down when they're proved wrong. So
Yeah.
whatever, you know, we'll
So
see.
bless old Artie's heart, you know, the only guy left, you know, in the band that is just the Roadie and Artie. And so,
And Leslie, yeah, don't forget Leslie.
yeah, well, of course, Leslie, you know, she was a backup singer, but I mean, we consider her a band member, you know. And I tell you what, when I was at her house and talking to her, I almost wanted to pinch myself like 5 or 6 times because I couldn't believe I was sitting there talking to Leslie, and when I left there, you know, it wasn't like I was, you know, happy that I got to meet Leslie. It was more like I was pissed off about the way that she's been left to deal with her injuries, I think, more than anything. But she's such a great lady. Really enjoyed her. Okay, Craig, I think that's about all the skin information for this podcast. So we'll play that Dwayne Easley, Mike O'Hara tape at the end of this, so you guys stick around, and we'll go ahead and wrap it up. Unless you got anything else, Craig.
No, just, you know, I listened to that guy talking about the plane crash, and man, I was on the dang thing, and you know, I've said before, you know, that it's just a good thing that helicopter pilot took interest to find us. I mean, because apparently he didn't know. He just heard that a plane had went down in the area, and he was there and got a spotlight and was circling around and found us. And that guy said, "Man, I don't know how he even found it. You could, because yeah, when we were down there, I mean, that's the first thing I thought. I was thinking,
Yeah.
I going, it's so dense back in there. I was going, how in the hell did they find us back here? Especially when we had that drone flying over top of where we were going back there in the four-wheeler. I'm going, how in the hell did they find us? They'd had, especially it was dark, and had they not found us, Leon would have died, and Gary probably, a lot of us would have bled to death. I'd have probably bled to death. I had a punctured lung. And Alan said, you know, that I was purple. He said, I thought you were dead. You were purple, you know. So I don't know. I could have died, and Gary and.
But you know, there was a big swath of tall pine trees that were knocked down that Johnny Moat had described. He said, yeah, there was a lot of pine trees that got knocked down, and then there was that one hardwood tree, and that's what stopped the plane so fast. Was that one hardwood tree. And that's what's cool about the, you know, I mean, some of those interviews, you know, and I don't suggest anybody that was really involved with any of that listen to these interviews, but for the people that didn't have any family members or anything like that, it's really a lot of information about things that we never knew. And so, you know, it's a little bit of a, I guess I'd say it's released new information. So you guys just stick around for it, because we're going to play them at the end of all the podcasts until they're gone. And then that'll be a little bit more of the Kent Griffith release of all the stuff he's got. And we're going to keep working with Kent. We appreciate Kent. And well,
I kept saying, I don't know why they didn't land in that pipeline, because you know the pipeline was plenty. That's where I thought we were going to land when I was on plane, I was kind of laughing. I thought we were going to belly slide it into that pipeline, and I said, well, probably knock the wings off of it, but it'll be like Mr. Toad's Wild Ride. And I never could figure out why we just didn't put it in that pipeline. I mean, friends of mine have homemade airports down there, and it looks just like that pipeline, you know. And then he was talking on his recording that I didn't see it, but it must have been on the other side of the plane. There was a road over there. He said,
Yeah.
He said you guys paralleled that road for a long ways, and it was plenty wide enough to land a plane. Why they didn't land it there? I mean, none of that makes any sense. And then he tried to go back to the air. You know, it was just man, it just makes you sick the way, you know, those pilots were totally inexperienced, you know.
Artimus, I guess, had told him that, you know, when he was in the cockpit, they used to kind of like let him fly and stuff, and he was up there, and they said, hey, you need to go back to the back of the plane because we're going to crash. And Artimus thought they were joking. And that's why Gene came out, and people were saying, you know, Gene, are they joking? And he goes, no, when the pilot says, oh shit, then there's a problem. So
I've been in I fly on my simulator over there, and I've gone up in planes out in that area, and I'll just cut the engines, and I'll see if I can't look and try to find a road or something to land on. I do that all the time, you know. It's I don't know why they just didn't land it.
The only thing I could think is they were trying to save the plane, and
that's what they were doing. Yeah,
thinking to go back to the airport, but
that's what they were doing. They were trying to save the plane, but hell, if they'd have landed it on that damn road, they could have had somebody bring them fuel. I mean, you know.
And then take off. Yeah, that's what they had to done.
I mean, God, that road, I don't know. The guy was saying that road was plenty wide enough, you know.
Well, in your movies, you know, you've got footage, and you guys, and a lot of people haven't, you know, they don't know about this because they haven't seen Craig's movies, but I remember seeing everybody, like Leon especially, was out on the tarmac there where the plane had landed with their shirt off, and I was like, Craig, why is everybody's shirt off, you know? And then I think it was either you or Gene said that the air conditioner had broken on the plane.
Yeah, it was a flight. Yeah, when I was taking those films, that was the tour before that was a 76 tour. I hadn't even started filming anything. I had all kind of film that I'd taken, and I didn't even think about filming anything on that beginning of that 77 tour. I hadn't even.
Yeah, you had Artie hanging out of the cockpit window, and
that was
great footage.
That was all before that. Yeah, that was a tour before. Yeah,
there's a lot of great footage in there. And now we're going to get a question in the comments. Craig, when are you going to release the movies?
I'm gonna get it together. I gotta narrate them, man. There's no sound on them. They're just Super 8.
Well, the next time you go to the post office, swing by that guy that takes all the tapes and turns them into a disc so we can get that hot rod video.
Oh, I can do that here. I just got to put the equipment together. I just need to take it down there. He'll do it for me. But
yeah.
Oh, since you mentioned my post office box, I got a package at my post office box. I don't know. There's a yellow card in my post office box, but it was closed. The post office was closed, but I went to my post office box, and there was a card in there. So somebody that sent me something too big to put in my post office box, it's there, but I don't know what it is yet.
Yeah, and see, I know Craig well enough now. I've been hanging around him well enough now. That last stupor that he did over at the neighbor's house, I don't think he's survived that still yet. he's still a little foggy after that, man. You can't go out doing that anymore, Craig.
That's I'm too old for that shit.
Yeah, man.
I was thinking about that today. I was thinking, I criticize people for doing all kind of stupid shit, you know. And then I think people probably laugh. Is that guy's 73 years old? Was he? He ate a bunch of brownies and went to the hospital. And then he went over there
and he's talking about
tequila. I don't know. He's wanting to talk about, being brain dead, or being mentally ill. That guy, everybody's a little bit mentally ill. It's just that some of you are a lot worse than me.
Yeah, but Craig, what people don't understand is you survived a few or 8. I think it was 8 world tours with Lynyrd Skynyrd. That's like, that's a Guinness Book of World Records.
I survived Rossington Collins and Alan Collins band. I survived the Rossington Collins and the Alan Collins band. Now there's
oh my God!
Yeah, if you can say that, you did something. I'll tell you that.
Yeah.
Well, look around. Everybody's dead.
Yeah.
Oh, well.
The only good thing about being dead is at least you're not laying in your coffin wondering what's going on. You don't know what's going on, so that's the only good thing about it. But,
I'm the only one that ever collected Social Security.
Well, you need to start getting rid of some of that stuff you got at your house there before you go, because you got a ton of stuff.
Yeah.
You gotta. Well, that's. And
when I sell stuff, people go, "I got that Craig. He's just making money off the band. It's all he wants to do is make money off the band. He's a disgusting. Yeah, he's just making money off the band's name."
But Craig, if somebody can sign a picture and sell it for $100 on eBay, what the heck? Why not?
As long as their name ain't Craig Reed, it's fine.
Yeah, but then they wouldn't get anything for it because at least your signature's worth something.
There's some people out there that just don't want me to make any money off the band's name, and yeah.
Okay. All right, Craig, let's wrap it up before we get in some trouble.
All righty then. Yeah, that's been podcast number 144 of the Stoned Roadie Show. And till next time, see you later, alligator at the Wild Crocodile. And that's a wrap. Cut.
October 20th.
Oh, yeah.
1977.
Where are you from?
Toronto, Canada.
Okay.
I have spoken to one of the I will be speaking to Mr. Charles Dunnigan tomorrow morning. I guess he's now the editor of the Enterprise Journal.
Right.
And I've got the FAA report, and I guess what I really, really would like to know is what it was like. Like I have a newspaper, I say, in front of me, but it does not go into any kind of details at all.
Which paper do you have?
I have the Jackson Clarion.
Yeah, Clarion Ledger.
Yeah, and it doesn't have any details at all. And I'm just
need the need the Enterprise Journal that was came out the next day.
Yeah, apparently that is being sent to me. I was speaking to a man named Bill, and he said he would send one to me, or a copy of one, a photocopy of one.
Yeah.
Obviously, you can't send me the original because I guess they don't have them anymore.
Yeah. I actually have one, but I'm not going to send it to you.
No, I understand that. Yeah. How did I don't know, like where to start. How did you know that the plane had crashed, or did you hear it, or?
Yeah, well, that is quite a long story.
Yeah.
I didn't actually hear it.
Okay.
But my wife and my sister heard it. And, they thought it was a wreck on the road, out on the highway.
Like a car wreck, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
But they said it sounded like, that lasted a long time. Just more than just a bump. Anyway, the plane had gone over a relative's house, and real low with lights on and so forth. Landing gear down, and they thought it was sputtering, and they knew it was coming in our direction, so they called. And that's how we found out that there was a plane, going down. And of course, at that time we thought it was just a small plane.
Right.
And there was a Coast Guard helicopter somewhere in the vicinity. I don't know how far away. And they picked up the beeper that they have,
The ELT, right? Yeah.
Okay. And so they were circling. When we heard that, we got out, went outside and started looking. And the helicopter was circling, and they went on down to the south and out of sight. Then they came back, and when they stopped, and we could see where it was at.
That's where the plane was, right? Okay.
Right.
And you had no idea at this time it was, like a single engine or a turbo? No idea at all? And you had no idea at all, obviously, who was on board? And
no, I thought it was... I just, had in my mind something like a Cessna.
Right.
Plane.
Right.
And anyway, when the helicopter stopped, we went back in the woods where they were, and then I could see it was a pretty good sized plane, larger than I thought it would be. And let's see. Well,
if this gets too heavy at any time for you, you can just tell me, man.
No, it's just no problem. I'm just trying to remember.
Okay. It has been a while, yeah.
Yeah, it's been pretty well. The wings were broken off. The plane was nose down, and then the tail section was bent over almost 90 degrees. It seemed like to the left. And on one side, we walked up, and it was split. The fuselage was split about halfway up, and I could see like a bloody hand sticking out out the side. And I climbed up. We got somebody to help me climb up there, and then we took like a long limb and propped it open. And the helicopter was sitting there with the light, the spotlight on.
Mm-hmm.
And you could see pretty good, except you couldn't see the other inside. But I had a flashlight with me, and looked up inside, and it was a bunch of bloody faces in it.
Imagine
people,
Yeah. So you were at the front where the brake was, facing forward? Okay.
And let's see. After a few minutes, this other guy climbed up there with me, and we started pulling people out. The Gaines boy.
Steve Gaines, yeah.
Yeah. He was laying right there in the opening. He had like a piece of aluminum stuck through up in his back. He was obviously dead.
Okay.
Is this the kind of stuff you want to hear or what?
Well, I guess, yeah. I would like to hear everything. It would help me, and if it doesn't hurt you in any way, shape, or form.
No, it doesn't bother me.
Okay, then that's fine.
Okay. I mean, I can just tell you what I saw from pulling the people out. But anyway, the other guy was Gerald Wall. He later became sheriff of Lynyrd Skynyrd. I don't know if you've talked to him or not.
No, it will be this.
Okay. Well, let's see. Well, we started pulling people out. They were just sandwiched in like sardines almost in a pretty small space. And we had to cut seatbelts because they couldn't pull them out. They were just, most of them had the seatbelts on. And one guy, I never did know for sure who it was, but he really about the first one we managed to get to. He was cut in the chest pretty bad. He was bleeding, you know. He was holding it with his hand, blood dripping through his fingers and all this kind of stuff. It's one of the first ones I think we got out. Real heavy guy. I never did know who was who.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, we pulled several people out. There was one guy, I think he was redheaded, had a beard, and he was on up inside there. A couple other guys climbed up from the other side. I never could see what they were doing, but they pulled some people out. I don't know how many we pulled out. Really don't remember that, or how many they pulled out. But it was, you know, trash, and I saw a lot of playing cards and handbags, looked like, and tennis shoes and boxes, and blood was on everything. So as we pulled people out, that we would find other, kind of like other people underneath almost.
Oh, I see. So as if you were pulling them out, there were people underneath the people you were pulling out.
Right.
Oh, okay.
It was, okay, we pulled a few people out, and then we saw blonde hair, and that was the Gaines girl.
Cassie.
Yeah,
right.
Cassie, right.
Yeah.
She was face down, and we, you know, pulled her out, and she looked obviously to be dead, but a lot of the others looked beat up a little bit, and she didn't appear to be that beat up. I was surprised, you know, that she was actually dead, because she just didn't look that bad, you know, like
as opposed to the others.
Yeah, right. There's even some of them that were very much alive. Well, from what I could tell, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, we were just trying to pull people out. Let's see what else would be significant. Oh, there's these 2 feet sticking straight up in the air, right beside me, and I thought the guy was sticking straight down, you know.
Right.
But as it turned out, he was laying face down. I was actually standing on the back of his legs. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Didn't know it until we had gotten several people out. And so I don't know who he was. Let's see what else. Pretty much everybody was, you know, in shock. They were kind of moaning and going, "Get me out of here." You know,
so more or less the people were conscious, most of them? Yeah, okay.
Yeah, the ones that were, of course, alive, but were conscious, and but they seemed to be in shock.
Mm-hmm.
You know, not real coherent. But one guy on the other side, and I never did see him, but he was down under somewhere, and he was talking, and he couldn't get out, and he wasn't hurt at all, I don't think. And I could hear the other guys talking to him and telling him they'd get him out, you know, and was he okay? He's all right. Let's see. That's pretty much the story. That, you know, we pulled it all out that we could see, and there were quite a few in just a small space, like it just folded up like an accordion right there, and it hit.
And I guess everyone upon impact, like all 26, just kind of just flew forward.
Yeah.
Everything just went forward.
I would say so. Yeah, they were all in a real small area. It's surprising.
Okay.
Probably not more than. Well, I mean, the ones that we got out were in a small space, about 8 feet maybe.
Wow.
And there were, you know, a number of people there. Some of the guys that had walked out were standing there watching us pull them out. You know.
That survived, you mean?
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't remember who they were, but I do remember seeing them. There's been a few that's been back. They came back a few years after the crash.
Yours was? He said he believed you and Mr. Wall were the very first ones on the scene.
Yeah, I think that's. I mean, I didn't see anybody when I walked up.
Right.
But
when did you realize that it was Lynyrd Skynyrd?
It may be hard to believe, but I didn't know until it was all over with.
Really?
Did
Did you know it was some sort of rock band? Obviously,
had no idea.
No.
No. I didn't know. My first impression was, when I opened peel the fuselage back and shine my light up in there, I thought to myself, I didn't know people like this rode airplanes. And I was kind of shocked. It looked like a bunch of hippies, what we called hippies then.
Right.
And I had no idea until it was all over with. And it seemed like, I don't know how long it was. It was a while. Hours getting them out. And I came down. When I finally came down, I walked out, and they had them laying around, bandaged up and so forth.
Mm-hmm.
And this kid walked up to me and said, "Hey, said, Dwayne, you know who this is?" I said, "No, I don't." He said, "This is Lynyrd Skynyrd." Well, this kid he's pretty famous for lying.
Okay.
I said, "Get out of here, kid. I don't have time. I don't feel like, your lies right now." And so I didn't believe him, but then somebody else told me, and that's when I found out.
So you had heard of the band, of course.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I liked the band.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And you had no idea that you were pulling out members?
No idea whatsoever.
Wow.
It was, I don't know, you don't expect something like that.
No, you don't expect something like that in, like in your own backyard.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, of course not.
So you just, there it is, and you do it, and it's over with before you know it.
Okay.
It was,
Must be, how'd you, if you don't mind my asking, how'd you deal with it afterwards? Was it like, oh my God, that was Lynyrd Skynyrd, or it was...
Yeah, it was,
Kind of shock set in on you,
shock
too?
set in, that's right. Later, next day, and it was a pretty humbling experience, but not knowing who they were or anything during the process while we were doing it, it wasn't that traumatic while it was going on,
Right.
But, it did affect me. It's, like I said, been a long time since I've told numbers of people have asked me to tell that story, and I have, but, you'll never forget that.
No, I guess not, no.
Yeah, I liked the band then, of course, and it was quite a shock. I went around after that, then I looked at the pilot. He was pinned. The tree, had him pinned. He was wide open there where you could see him, and his arms were hanging down, and he was obviously dead.
Right.
Co-pilot I didn't see, but he was in some compartment, I think, behind the pilot. And I never did see him. We tried to open that door, we couldn't. As I was leaving, this rescue squad finally made it in there with their fire hats and stuff on. And they got them all, the rest of those out. So, but I'd had enough, at that point.
Yeah. I can imagine.
Yeah. I can't think of anything really that pertinent.
I
I think my sister had Barney Van Zant's hat.
Oh, right. Yeah, really?
She gave it back. Yeah, because, they asked people anything they picked up to return it, and she did.
Yeah, it's the gentleman that, amazing, nothing, everything was returned.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe...
I think people around here are that way, of course. Yeah, they're not going to take advantage of somebody that's had such a terrible thing happen. And that's the way they felt, I believe.
I mean, I find it hard to believe, too.
Yeah.
That, like you say, your sister had Ronnie Van Zant's hat.
Yeah.
And that's Ronnie Van Zant's hat,
That'll win. Yeah. I think they show the hat now, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I guess the one last question would be what sticks most on your mind when you think of that crash?
When I think of that
Or when you think of what you were doing? Was it a fact that it was Lynyrd Skynyrd, or
No, because
you didn't know originally?
I didn't know until it was over with.
Right.
They were. It's just the picture that I get in my mind when somebody mentions it is when I peel that fuselage back and shine my light up there and I see all these bloody faces. You know, and that bloody hand sticking out, holding on to the side of the plane when I walked up. That's what comes to mind. You know, like the hand was sticking out just trying to hold on to something.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the first thought I have about it. I don't know if you're looking for that kind of detail, but I mean, being one of the first ones there.
Well, no, I would like, everything,
Yeah.
I'm not into, trying to be morbid or anything.
You just want the whole story.
I want the whole story, and like what it was like.
Yeah.
So I can put this down on paper and, and whatnot.
You can edit out what you want.
More or less, yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
And that's, well, after I came down, I did have to take a couple across a little creek there on a stretcher, but.
Oh, there was a creek?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it was real close to a creek. And there was some really tall pines where they came down. Probably if it hadn't been for that, they might have, I think that somebody said that cushioned the fall just a little. It might have been more dead if it hadn't been,
With the pine trees?
Yeah, in the pine trees, right.
Okay, but approximately how far would you say it would be to clear where they might have made a landing?
Oh, man, it was...
For a field?
Well, there was a field really close, but actually if they had hit that field, it was an incline, uphill grade.
Right.
I imagine, and I was told by some other people who know more about that kind of stuff that probably if they had made that field, would have nosed into that pasture. It might have been a lot worse.
A lot worse, right.
Because it wasn't level. That was on the north side. To the east side, was our place. And it was a pretty long flat field there. I don't know if they were, even ever saw it. I don't know. But they would have had a chance there probably. But from what I was told, that probably if they had made that, and it looked as though they were going for that field, that it would have probably been more death. That those long, tall pines just helped, You could tell when they hit the first tree and the second and the third, right on down the line.
Really?
Oh, yeah. It was a, distinct path, and I don't remember how far it was, but I would say a couple 100 yards.
And I guess debris was everywhere, of course.
Yeah. Metal stuck up in trees, where wings hit, and the two engines were back a ways from the plane, and you could just tell where they hit the first tree, way up in the top. And then came down at about not a 45, a little less than that. Probably cutting trees off, Pine trees probably, how big? I don't know. Probably over a foot and a half in diameter.
Whoa.
And it cut them all off, every one that hit. Well, at first, of course, it cut trees, with a wingspan, but then it trimmed the wings off, and then they were hitting just nosing into trees, I guess. So
that's amazing.
Came down quick, once they hit the first tree.
Wow. It's amazing that anybody, from what you described, walked away from that thing, let alone lived.
It's just incredible. I mean, they were so lucky, the ones that just survived. That's the only explanation you could give, that those trees cushioned the fall, because if they had come down at that angle, just in an open field, it would have been, somebody estimated the speed at, a couple hundred maybe? Or probably, maybe a little less, but I heard that figure. I don't know if that's accurate or not, but...
It must be pretty close, because the FAA said at least 180 miles an hour.
Okay, yeah. You can imagine if you nosedive into the ground at 180.
Yeah.
I think it would have been a lot worse than that. And the Enterprise Journal took a lot of pictures that night.
Who did?
So they, and I saw them, you know, of course, taking the pictures. And only one, I think one or two pictures came out in the paper the next day. But I think they have a lot more. Oh, they did have.
Right.
We have pictures, but they're not good. You can't really tell. That's for the next day.
Right.
So
Everything was approximately how long would you say it took to get the dead and injured to the hospital or hospitals, as the case may be?
how long did it take to get the dead and injured to the hospital? What surprised me really is that when I came down off the plane, it had been seemed like a long time that they were all still there. You know, that they hadn't started taking them out yet.
Uh-huh.
But they were all, you know, there was a doctor who had come, and he was bandaging them up. When I think his name, that was Henry Lewis, the doctor. I don't know how he knew about it, but he was in there. That's the only doctor I know of that was there. He's in Macomb. He was doing his part. I guess they were just stabilizing them, you know.
Right.
Took them out.
Right. And you mentioned stretchers across creek and...
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
There's water about, I don't know, a couple feet deep.
Was helicopters, were they able to land, or...
They landed in the field close by.
But you still had to go across the creek?
Sure, yeah. Had to go across the creek. The helicopter, the first one that was there, he sat there and he hovered over that place for a long time, and the light, the shadow never moved. I mean, he never, you know, he was perfectly still.
Right.
The entire time. And then finally, another one moved in and, you know, holding his light, and then when he did that, another helicopter moved off. And there was another one sitting over in the field with his engine running. I don't know if he ever joined to, you know, relieve that other one or not.
The FAA report wasn't too clear on that.
I think there was three. I believe there were three, unless the other one the first one that moved was the one landed in the field. I thought there were three. There's at least two, of course, I know, but I think there were three there. Got quite a crowd there in the woods. I don't know how many people though. They were telling everybody not to smoke, you know, and
But there was no fuel, of course.
Fuel, right.
But you didn't know that at the time.
Well, see, there was this smell in there, and that's another thing. Every time I smell this smell, which is not very often, but it's just like a flashback, and that's, I guess it was hydraulic fluid.
Yeah.
And I could smell it, but I didn't know what it was. I wasn't sure if it was oil or fuel. I smelled it the whole time.
Like the person...
I hear that same beat, you know, and that helicopter was sitting there, rotor beating the whole night.
Yeah.
Occasionally when I hear a helicopter, it's like a flashback.
Yeah. Well, I thank you so much.
Okay.
I can't thank you enough. I mean, you've given me so much insight.
Well, you know, that's just the view that I saw. Like I said, I'm not sure if that's what you're looking for.
Well, no. I mean, you and from what I was told, Mr. Wall were the first ones there.
Yeah.
If not the first ones, one of the first ones. Mm-hmm. And that is what you saw.
Right, yeah. Well, maybe you'll publish a book and we can read it one day.
My thesis is good. Yeah. Well, I can't thank you enough. I appreciate your time.
Yeah, man.
And your honesty.
All right.
Okay, thank you so much.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Happy trails to you until we meet again. Happy trails to you. Keep token until then.